All right, welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell.
You know what's been a hot topic for the last couple of months, I would say, at least for the last 6 months?
Tell me.
Car insurance.
Oh, gosh, because it's going up so much.
Everybody has a beef with the car insurance insurance industry because everyone is jacking up the rates.
And you understand why, if you think about it logically. Things are more expensive to fix. All the parts on the cars are more expensive. You understand logically.
Yeah.
In your brain, it makes sense. But my goodness, in your heart and your gut, it is just maddening.
Yeah, my insurance went up, and I think I've told you this example before. I was helping a guy out with a BMW, and he was rear-ended. It was relatively minor damage, but they totaled his BMW.
Whew.
And the reason goes right to the point that you made. They have cameras, they have sensors, they have all these bells and whistles that maybe you just don't even see or know that they're there. You probably use a lot of it, but you're like, that's all expensive little gadgetry in there. It costs a lot of money.
It sure does.
So, yeah, his little rear end from the back didn't look that bad, but apparently it was enough to total the whole car. So that's how it goes. How's your auto insurance? Does yours go up?
It went up, but not as dramatically as my homeowner's insurance. That's a different podcast that we could talk about some other day.
Yeah.
That one doubled this year and just rocked my world.
Home insurance doubled.
We're in the process of shopping all over the place. But yeah, it's one of those things that you have to consider in the monthly budget.
Here's the weird thing. So yours doubled and mine went down a couple $100.
How?
I don't know, and I'm not going to ask. I don't want to trigger anything. If it's a mistake, let them figure it out.
Holy cow.
Yeah. But
you're the only person on this planet, I think, who has insurance that went down this year.
It went down like $200. Wow. Yeah, so I was glad to hear that.
Lucky ducky over here. So they know you're Gary Harper.
Well, I'm just leaving everything the same. I'm hopefully no claims for 2025. I haven't had any claims. We've been in the house for a while, but we digress. We're talking about auto insurance today. So a little example, my auto insurance did go up significantly.
Oh no.
But
did you have claims that made it go up?
Not for 2024. Okay. No claims. Windshield claims we did.
Yeah.
And
we did one of those last year too.
And we did a podcast before where a lot of insurance companies are counting windshield claims as like a big fender bender.
A big deal, yeah.
A big deal. It's supposed to be free windshield replacement, but it's a mark against you.
They get mad about it, yeah.
So, yeah, we had, I think, one or two windshields. So, yeah, that's why our insurance went up. But I got it to go down because I was on a monthly payment plan. It's like everything else. You pay your mortgage, pay the. But if you pay 6 months up front, it went down.
You got a decent discount for that.
I got a very decent discount. Yeah, it went down a lot. So, yeah, you could pay every 6 months and it goes down. That's one thing, but you got to have the funds in reserves to make that happen.
Yeah, you don't want to put that on the credit card to pay the interest. Yeah, you have to have that cash.
Now, there was one thing my insurance agent kind of pitched to me as a way to save money because I was griping at him. I'm like, what is going on here? And he was talking about these driving apps that people can use. They're, I guess, issued, implemented, downloaded, whatever, by your insurance company. And they're in charge of it, and it's on your phone, but it monitors your driving habits. I mean, we're talking mileage, how fast you're going, what time of day you drive.
Let me guess how you feel about this.
You know where I'm going with this. I was like, absolutely not. I do not want this. Yeah, I don't want Big Brother, so to speak, in my car spying on me.
Yeah, but on the flip side, some people are saying this is the way I can afford my insurance.
What about you? Do you have it?
I don't have it. No.
Would you use it?
I would have to really think about it. I drive a lot for work. I mean, my house is 35 miles from the station.
Yeah.
So I'm doing 70 miles a day before I'm picking up the kids and going to swim lessons and everything. I don't think I'm the right candidate for it because I think I drive too much. I think the insurance company would say, whoa.
Well, you're actually increasing the odds of having an issue
because I'm just on the road more.
You're just on the road more. I mean, if your car is sitting in the garage, then you're not really at risk. But Yeah, I'm not really big on the app, but that's what we're talking about today. And this is a goodie because a lot of people, it's kind of controversial. Some people, yeah, I swear by, I love it, and it reduced my premiums. Others are on the other side, like me. So to talk a little bit more about that, we have Maya Afilalo. She's an industry analyst with AutoInsurance.com. Did I get that last name right, Maya?
You did, Gary. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I had to practice it a couple of times, but practice makes perfect, as they say. Hey, Maya, tell us a little bit about this app. And first of all, do you use the app?
Yeah, so a lot of the big insurance companies are offering what they call telematics discounts. You might hear it called usage-based insurance or a discount for tracking your driving. But at the bottom line, at the end of the day, it's basically they're tracking aspects of your driving, like you mentioned, speeding, fast acceleration, harsh braking. Those are the three main that they track. They also track if you're using your phone behind the wheel. Some of them track what time of day you're driving, how much you're driving. And you can save for driving safely. Now, sometimes might get an increase if you're driving unsafely. Other companies promise will never raise your rates if you don't drive safely. That's the first part. And as for whether I use it, I do. I have State Farm auto insurance, and I do use Drive Safe and Save. I've used it for about a year and a half. And I did have some concerns, which we can get into, but at the end of the day, I live in a major city, so I have high rates. Even though I don't drive a ton, like Susan mentioned, 70 miles going to and from work. I don't have that kind of commute because I work remotely. And so that's part of why I wanted to take advantage of this discount because it does reward you, at least State Farms does, for driving less. The discount fluctuates. I got a big one my last renewal. I was saving over $400 over 6 months. Most recent renewal that came in, it was a little less. It was closer to 150, but I'll take it.
It's still money. I mean, a $400 discount is a ton of money back in the budget. $150 is still a trip to the grocery store. I mean, that's still a big deal, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the big chunk was like 400. She said at the first. I mean, they probably can't do another 400. I mean, that would be nice, but another 150 certainly doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
Do you notice anything about the braking? So how does the app measure the braking? Like to avoid a rear end collision, you have to brake very sharply. How does the app register that? How do they know?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the short answer is they don't know. They don't know if you are driving defensively. I live in Philadelphia, and I don't know if you've ever been there, but we have some aggressive drivers here, and so you do have to drive defensively. That said, I have found that because it's averaging your score over many trips, and occasional hard braking here and there, you're on the freeway, and all of a sudden traffic's slowing down. Obviously, you brake, you want to be safe. And I've noticed that doesn't have a huge impact on my score if I'm driving safely the majority of the time. And I will say it's made me a little more aware of my habits. Like, okay, let me give enough distance to the car in front so that I can make sure I'm braking, not just for this app, but also just for, my own safety and my passenger safety.
It's such a good point.
It does make you think.
Yeah.
It kind of, I don't want to say second guess yourself, but it does make you think, oh, okay, I'm being monitored here, so I better...
It's like mom sitting next to you in the driver in the passenger seat.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
So you kind of measured the pulse of how people are feeling about this as people are trying to save money, people are trying to figure out if this works for them. What did you find when you surveyed a whole bunch of drivers?
Yeah, so we asked a bunch of people, whether they're using this discount, are they interested, what would make them more or less interested? And what we found, the first thing that I thought was really interesting is that only 12% of drivers are currently using a telematics program. So that's just a little more than 1 in 10. Although over a quarter of drivers, so 27%, said they were open to using one. So sometimes people just don't know about them, like it wasn't advertised to them. Their agent, unlike Gary's agent, like didn't tell them about it. So they might not know it exists. Another reason people don't use it, a big reason, is concerns about data privacy, because these apps do collect quite a bit of data. You usually need to have, for example, your location services on your phone turned on always not just when you're driving. So that's a big concern, rightfully so for people. And I think it's a big question of, trading off those concerns versus, the 150 or however much money you're going to spend over your policy period. Another thing we found is that about 2 in 3 people we surveyed noticed a decrease in their monthly premiums. They saved money after enrolling. And among those people who did save, the median savings was about $27 per month or $324 annually. That's kind of on par with when I said it was about $150 for 6 months. It's kind of on par with that. And about 1/3 of people did see their rates increase. Like I mentioned, that changes carrier to carrier. So that's like some fine print you definitely want to read. Is there a risk of my rate increasing? And among those whose rates did increase, which was about 11%, the median change was an increase of $45 per month, which is that's significant. And about a quarter stayed the same. Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
Let's talk about that because it could really work against you. Here you are trying to save money, but let it be known. I think everybody knows I have a little bit of a lead foot. I'm certainly not the perfect candidate for this because they're going to monitor how fast I'm driving on the interstate to and from work. I don't want that. It's going to work against me. And aren't there some insurance companies that claim anyway that they won't raise your rates, but there's other insurance companies that certainly do?
Yes, exactly. So there's some companies like State Farm, for example. This was a big factor in my decision. That this is what they're saying, that they won't increase your rates for driving unsafely. If they do notice you're driving unsafely, you'll get a $0 discount. Other companies like Progressive, for example, state that there is a chance that your rates may increase. And I think Progressive states on its website that on average 2 in 10 drivers who use Snapshot, that's what their program is called, see their rates increase, and 8 in 10 see either a decrease or no change. So that's definitely something to look into. Also, if you have a teenager on your policy, right? If maybe you drive safely, but think about everyone who's going to have their habits tracked who's driving the car.
Do you have to have it? I mean, is it for everybody under the same policy, or could I say, oh, I'm a super safe driver, but I'm not going to put my 16-year-old up for this same thing? Does it kind of vary by company?
Yes, that's another factor that varies by. All of them kind of operate roughly the same, but they each have they do things a little differently, and that's another one that varies by company. And sometimes it's like you can leave some people off, but you're lowering your potential maximum savings if you don't include everyone. But yeah, that changes by company as well. Yeah.
The location tracking thing is so fascinating to me because this is not a new concept, right? This was, a couple companies way back when would send you a device that you would place in your car,
plug
and
it in.
It would measure everything.
Yep.
But now because everything's on the phone,
right,
it's a little bit different. It's not just, when I lock my car and walk away,
mm-hmm.
It is what it is. It's now following me every single second of the day.
It's
because I have my phone with me every single second of the day.
It's more convenient, certainly.
Absolutely.
I mean, than it used to be with these apps. But again, one of the things that they monitor, and you brought this up, Maya, was your phone usage, the navigation, because a lot of people use their navigation even if they know where they're going. I still use it coming to and from work because I want to see if there's been accidents, if there's routes that I need to avoid. But I wonder if the navigation, when it's on your phone, if that's being counted as phone usage to the insurance company. Any idea?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I know that it's a good question, and something I would ask, because also, like, if it's plugged into the infotainment system, like if you have your navigation but it's on CarPlay or Android, I believe that's not going to ding you. Like if I'm kind of using my the built-in infotainment system in the car, if you have a mounted GPS or phone holder and you're using your phone for GPS, that's a question. I believe for State Farm, and it's just because I have this one that I know more about it. But I think what 3 things have to be true is the car has to be in motion, the phone screen has to be lit up, and your phone has to be moving. It can detect like when your phone itself is moving. And if all 3 of those things are true, then it will say, that counts as distracted driving. So if it's mounted and it's still, that should be less of an issue. The second thing is, and this was not exactly the scenario you posed, but related, you can go into the app and say a passenger used my phone while I was driving if it dings you. That's a little bit tedious, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But
but that happens often. Gary, you and I are always in vehicles with our coworkers, with the photographers we work with. So we would have to go in every single day and say, oh, I was in a moving car, but I was making phone calls for work while Rick was driving.
Listen, you and I have enough to do.
I don't think we're the candidates for this.
We are definitely.
I do think there are a lot of people who could save a ton of money doing this. But yeah, I guess that's why it's the debate.
Yeah. One question you asked earlier, and it's great, and I don't know if I wasn't listening or if you answered this, Maya, but so if you have a policy and you have, you're married, you have your spouse, and you have somebody else, even if it's an adult son, okay, and still on your policy, does everybody have to, can one person use the app, or if it's one, it's everybody?
So check with your carrier, check with your insurance provider. I think for the most part, not everyone needs to use it. So I'll give an example that I live with my partner. We're not married, but we're both listed on the car insurance policy. But she does not have the app on her phone. So it's only and with State Farm, there's also a Bluetooth device. A lot of companies are just using your phone to track it. Sometimes you could get a plug-in device with State Farm. You mount a little Bluetooth, much smaller than an Easy Pass even, to your windshield, and then it's connecting to your phone via Bluetooth. But to answer your question, for the most part, no, not everyone on your policy or who's using your car needs to have the app. Certainly if you're just lending your car out. But if your adult son's on your policy, for the most part, not everyone should have to sign up. But again, you should check with your carrier what they require, and keep in mind that some carriers might not give you the maximum discount if not everyone who's named on the policy signs up, but you could still earn something. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Look into the crystal ball for me a little bit. Do you think more insurance companies, as premiums continue to go up, will put more of an emphasis on this, offer maybe deeper discounts to try to entice drivers to actually use this? Or do you think we're going to kind of sit at the usage level that you found in your survey?
It's a really good question, because I was surprised that usage level was so low, because for the insurance companies, I mean, it's great for them to collect this data. So I would think that they would want to make these offerings, at least make sure all their customers know about these offerings, if not encouraging them to use it. And you do get a small discount just for signing up, usually as well. So if you just sign up, you get 5 or 10% off usually. And then depending on how much you drive at your next renewal, you could get up to 25, 30, 35, 40, some cases 40% off. But to my crystal ball is, it's a little murky, but I would say that, more likely than not, I would think that insurance companies would try to encourage customers even more in the future to use these programs.
Certainly makes sense, right? I mean, if they could save money with, fewer crashes and people could save money on their premiums, I guess, yeah, absolutely, it does make sense. Maya, thanks so much for being on the On Your Side podcast. If people want to find out more about you, or they want to find out more about autoinsurance.com, where can they find everybody?
They should come, exactly what you said, come straight to autoinsurance.com. Maybe if I can send you a link to this telematics study where they can learn a lot more about our findings, maybe throw a link up in the podcast, but autoinsurance.com, and then you can find all of our content there.
Yeah, sounds
really
good.
Fast before we let you go, give us your top 3 tips for shopping for auto insurance if somebody is trying to save money.
All right, top 3 tips. Bundle. Susan, you mentioned your homeowner's insurance went up. So bundling home and auto, regardless if you're a homeowners, if you're a renter, bundling renters and auto insurance, a lot of companies will give a discount. By bundling, I mean buy both policies from the same company.
Sure.
Second tip, it would be to look at your coverages. I would say in terms of liability limits, which is how much gets paid out if you cause an accident, you cause damages, keep those, I wouldn't be stingy with those. But if you can afford a higher deductible, like if your deductible is $500 and you can afford $1,000 out of pocket, or possibly even more, I would do that because you don't want to file a claim for less than $1,000 anyway, because they're just going to jack up your rates.
Yeah.
So get your deductible up there. And then over the longer term, safe keeping your record accident free. And in most states, your credit score gets counted in your auto insurance. I don't know if everyone knows that. So just keep your credit. I know that takes time, but high credit will also help you lower your auto insurance rates.
And that's almost a topic for another time. But the higher your credit score, apparently the safer you are a driver. I don't get the two, how they, equate with one another, right? I mean, so if you're
responsibility factor, maybe.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
You have really bad credit, so you're a risky driver. And that's what the insurance companies say. So anyway, keep that credit score up for not only that reason, for a lot of others. All right, Maya, thanks so much for being on the On Your Side podcast. Enjoy yourself, and thanks again.
Thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure. Thanks.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can't, send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock, and every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.